Today, we're jumping into a really critical environmental debate that's happening in India right now. It's all centered on one of the oldest mountain ranges in the entire world. And it's a wild story about how changing just a few words in a legal document could threaten a landscape that's been around for 2 billion years. So how do you make a mountain range disappear? I mean, it sounds like a trick question, right? But it's the very real question at the center of this Aravali controversy. And no, it's not about magic. It's about definitions, it's about rules, and that really fine line between progress and preservation. And we're about to figure this whole thing out together. So what kicked this whole thing off? You might think it was some big event like a landslide or an earthquake, but nope. The spark was just a new rule. A simple change in a definition that has absolutely ignited protests and a fierce nationwide debate. And here it is. This is the main event. In late 2025, India's Supreme Court gave the green light to a new, very specific definition for what can legally be called an Aravali hill. And that one decision, that single moment, set off a chain reaction that we're all watching play out right now. Let's just walk through how fast this all went down. In May of 2024, the Supreme Court asked for a clear, uniform definition. Pretty reasonable, right? But by November of the next year, 2025, this controversial new rule was the law of the land. The public outcry was so immediate and so strong that just 1 month later, the government had to step in and put a ban on all new mining leases. The whole situation just escalated incredibly fast. Okay, so before we get any deeper into the controversy, we really need to properly introduce the main character in this story, the Aravali Range itself. Because this isn't just any old group of hills. We're talking about a living piece of ancient history. The Aravalis are actually the oldest fold mountains in India. Now, what does that mean? Well, they were formed way back when tectonic plates pushed together, long before the giant Himalayas even existed. They are, quite literally, the geological elders of the subcontinent. And the scale here is just immense. We're talking about a range that's 670 kilometers long, stretching all the way from Gujarat up through Rajasthan and Haryana right into Delhi. But I really want you to pay attention to that last point, an eroded stub. That's the key to their whole story. These mountains used to be absolute giant. And this comparison just illustrates it perfectly. You've got the young, towering Himalayas that are still getting pushed upwards by tectonic forces. And then you have the ancient Aravalis, which have been weathered and worn down over millions and millions of years. They carry the memory of a much, much older Earth. But their age doesn't make them some kind of relic. It actually makes them fundamentally important to modern India. So why should we care so much about a weathered, ancient mountain range today? Well, because the Aravalis aren't just a geological feature. They're a critical life support system for northern India. People often call it the Great Green Wall. I mean, think of this range as doing a bunch of different vital jobs. It's a physical wall, literally stopping the Thar Desert from creeping further east. It acts like a giant set of lungs, cleaning the polluted air for cities like Delhi. It's a massive sponge, recharging precious groundwater in really dry regions. And on top of all that, it's a sanctuary for incredible wildlife. Simply put, it's indispensable. Okay, so now that we get just how crucial these mountains are, let's dive into the technical, nitty-gritty heart of this whole conflict. It all comes down to a seemingly simple question. What exactly is an Aravali hill? This is where the entire debate hinges. So you've got two competing definitions. On one side, you have the new rule, the 100-meter rule. It basically says a hill is only a hill if it's at least 100 meters taller than the ground around it. On the other side, you have the 3-degree slope rule, which is backed by groups like the Forest Survey of India. This definition is way broader. It includes all the lower foothills and scrublands that make up the ecosystem. So one rule protects just the peaks, the other protects the entire system. And here's the staggering result of that one simple change. An internal assessment found that this new rule could strip legal protection from, wait for it, 91.3% of the hills in Rajasthan. Let that sink in for a minute. Over 90% of the range, potentially just legally erased. So what happens when over 90% of a mountain range is no longer legally considered a mountain range? Let's talk about the potential real-world fallout from this new definition, because it is serious. The warnings from scientists and environmentalists are frankly stark. Without that Aravali barrier, the Thar Desert could start expanding. Dust storms could get more frequent and way more intense all across North India. The air quality in Delhi, which is already some of the worst in the world, could get even worse. And some studies even point to this terrifying knock-on effect. Dust could travel all the way to the Himalayas, land on the glaciers, and actually make them melt faster.
This quote from India Today just sums it up perfectly. It's not about the big, majestic peaks. It's the low, scrub-covered hills, the very ones the new definition excludes, that are so ecologically critical. And they're the ones now potentially wide open to mining and construction, which threatens the whole system.
Of course, this is a really complex issue, and there's more than one side to it. To really understand the full picture, we have to look at the government's official position and the reasons behind its actions. So first, let's look at the formal opposition that was raised right there in court. An amicus curiae, who's basically an impartial advisor to the court, argued passionately that this new 100-meter definition was vague, that it would cause severe ecological consequences, and that it was simply unacceptable. This just shows you how serious the concerns were at the highest levels. Now, in response, the government has really emphasized its commitment to finding a balance. The Union Environment Minister, Bhupender Yadav, said that the goal here is to manage both ecology and economy, using science as a guide, and to counter what they believe is misinformation. And the government has announced some very specific measures to try and back this up. They've put a complete ban on all new mining leases. They've also restated that mining isn't allowed in the National Capital Region anyway. They clarify that this 100-meter rule is only for defining mining areas, not for other things. And they've pledged to expand protected zones and support big conservation projects like the Aravali Green Wall project. So that's where we stand today, a huge debate all over a single definition, but with consequences that could literally reshape the landscape of northern India for centuries to come. And it leaves us with this really profound question. In a world with immense pressure for resources and development, can a line drawn on a map really protect a mountain range that has stood for 2 billion years? Or is this the moment the balance between ecology and economy tips for good? It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this explainer.